You realized you were dreaming at some point whilst you were being led down a corridor by some men. As dreams tend to go, you didn't recall when it had started or what the context was. You followed them, silently accepting whatever plans they had for you. The faint knowledge that it was a dream not making it any easier to break engagement with the plot. As the dream went on, you realized you were in a school hallway. You didn't recognize the specific school, but it held a sense of familiarity common to K-12 institutions. You felt a strange sense of belonging mixed with dread. You wanted to go home, well, to wake up, but something told you that you must go through with whatever was ahead. You started to see other people, teachers or staffers, and realized you had entered an administrative wing. The men took you to a computer lab, /conference room, /testing center, /something, and you sat down at a table, handing you a packet of pages. You asked what you were supposed to do. They just told you to start taking the test. The packet was recognizable as a school exam of some kind, but since sleep blocks the part of the brain used to perform logic-based tasks such as reading a book or using a computer, such activities are extremely difficult to do in a dream, and the more you tried to concentrate on the assignment before you, the more incomprehensible it became. At this point, the dream was fast wearing out its welcome. Why do I have to take the test? I haven't been in school for years, I'm an adult now. You protest to the man who had handed you the test. His response puzzled you even more.
You know that personality test you took when you were in 6th grade? Well, there were some discrepancies in your results. So you're going to take it again. Well, it's not the same test exactly. More of a follow-up deal just to get a proper baseline.
Now you were getting really annoyed. Excuse me, but I graduated middle school well over a decade ago. This is stupid. I don't know what personality test you mean, but I'm going home now. You couldn't quite perceive the man's face clearly, but you could tell he was unfazed by your response.
All right, if you want to try and leave, there's the door. Well, you'll be back.
So you walked out, wandering the halls until you found an exit. You couldn't tell if it was supposed to be day or night outside, but you didn't care. You walked the parking lot aimlessly until it faded to black. You didn't know if it was seconds or hours had passed, but before you knew it, you were in the hallway again, once again following the men. Again, you made no effort to disengage the dream and followed them right back into the testing room, where the same man sat you down and handed you a packet.
Here's the deal. You don't get to wake up until you take this test. We can keep you here as long as we have to. Come on, it's not that difficult. The data is very important to us, and sometimes we have to do follow-up exams. Just do it and it'll be over in no time, and you go back to dreaming about whatever it is you were dreaming about before.
So you start taking the test. It was grueling. You had no conscious clue what you were doing. The test consisted of a bunch of bizarre puzzles and logic problems that had no clear purpose or interpretation. All you really knew was that they were hard, and there were a lot of them. You mindlessly completed them, wanting only to finish the test so you could leave. But there were so many problems. It just went on and on, for what seemed like hours. After what must have been the 1000th problem, you decided to leave again. It was just a dream, and your alarm had to go off at some time. Once again, the man made no attempt to stop you as you left the room, walked through the administrative wing, and entered the school halls. You woke up in your bed. The lights were off. You turned on the lamp on your nightstand and got out of bed to get a drink of water. As you journeyed down the bathroom hall to the kitchen, you grew uneasy. The unease turned to fear, then terror. The bathroom hall started to shrink, and a large monster took over your dream. It was a being from your childhood nightmares, only more terrifying than it had ever been. It grew larger and more terrifying, and just as it was about to consume you, you found yourself sitting at the table again, looking down at the test.
I wouldn't advise doing that again, the man said plainly. If need be, we can make you restart the test from the beginning. You don't want that, do you?
He sighed and resumed the assignment. It was grueling as ever. You spent what felt like another 2 hours doing it. Along the way, you noticed that someone else was in the room taking the test as well. You didn't know how long he'd been there. He turned to face you. You couldn't make out his face, but he had blonde hair. "Can you believe they're making us take this test again?" he said. "I mean, 6th grade was years ago, right? What am I doing, talking to people in my dreams, as if that'll help? Crazy, right?" The two of you turned back to your assignments. You completed hundreds of more problems, over what seemed like 4 more hours, before finally finishing. Exhausted and exasperated, you angrily handed the packet back to the man. He looked over it, nodded and said something else, then said, "Right, looks good. You're free to go." You woke up in your bed, covered in sweat. This time it was for real, not a false awakening. You sat up, the wave of relief washing over you. There's no feeling in the world like finally waking up from a particularly intense dream, one you didn't even realize the intensity of it until you woke up. You got up, used the bathroom, wiped the sweat off with a wet rag, then made yourself some soup. You looked at the clock and then realized it had only been an hour since you went to bed. Funny how dreams always seem longer than they actually were. While you were eating, you thought back over your dream, and something hit you. You did take a strange personality test back in 6th grade, which you'd long since forgotten about until now. It had little in common with the Myers-Briggs test or any of the other personality tests or career interest surveys you'd ever took in school. The one you took in 6th grade was administered by a group of men in suits from some foundation or non-profit you didn't recall the name of. It involved strange questions, such as ones that had you stare at abstract shapes for a certain amount of time, and then have you check the box for which object it reminded you of most, as well as several questions they asked you about your dreams. You actually didn't finish that test in time. You were one of those 2 students who didn't. Come to think of it, the other one did have blonde hair. Man, dreams sure have a way of messing with your mind, don't they? You laughed and sat down to watch some TV. You didn't have work the next day, so you'd spend a couple of hours doing that. One detail of the dream kept nagging at you, though. You knew it was just a dream, but you couldn't put it out of your mind. While you had been making your soup, you had suddenly remembered what the man administrating the test in your dream had said before you were free to go. "We'll process these results, and then depending on how they turn out, maybe touch base with you again in 10 years.
This happened just last night, and honestly I'm still a little shaken over it. I work evenings as a dispatcher in a small medium-sized Midwestern town. I was driving home at 2 AM when I stopped for gas. In retrospect, it was stupid I stopped at all. The gas station was poorly lit and completely empty of any customer cars. But I knew the shady areas of town, and this was not usually one of them. As I was pumping gas, I noticed a middle-aged woman sitting on the curb across a parking lot. It's a cold night and just started raining. The woman was not wearing the weather-appropriate clothing, so drenched. When the woman saw that I was watching her, she called out to me from across the parking lot. My second moment of stupid decisions was choosing to engage with her. I was worried for her, so I approached her to see if she wants some help. "Hi beautiful, I'm just trying to get home, but no one's gonna help me. I see you're a taxi driver, and I'm trying to get from city A to city B. I could really do with your help. I've been out here for ages. Can you help me? Now, I don't usually give money to panhandlers, but she seems genuine. The weather was terrible, and there's lots of job centres around that are shutting down, so I agree. I tell her I don't have cash, but if she comes inside, I'll give her a couple of dollars. Now, the ATM isn't working. I apologise and told her that there's nothing else I can do. She follows me back outside, idly chatting with me as I get to my driver's door. She then says, "But you're a cab driver," and gets in. I was totally shocked to really say anything. I sat there and watched as she buckles herself in like it's a completely normal situation. As soon as she got into my car, her demeanour changed. She's no longer anxious, she's now restless. "Just take me to my aunt's house, she can give you money." Of course alarm bells are going off in my head, although my first instinct is to tell her to get out of my car. My gut tells me that if she does, it's not dangerous, but she's already proved that she's unpredictable and high, and I don't know if she has a weapon. Forcing her out of my vehicle, I thought I had the potential to avoid a violent interaction. "Why are you asking me?" I finally said. "Just start driving, I'll tell you later." "No, if you want me to consider driving you, I need you to tell me where you want me to go." I never had an intention of driving her. She said, "Don't worry, honey. I'm not just one of the bad people here. I'm not gonna rob you, just drive." "No," I repeat. "What's her address?" "Okay, it's Street A." "What's her house number?" As I was asking her questions, she gets agitated. We still had not left the gas station parking lot. I considered getting out of the car and going into the gas station for help, but A, she seemed to know and be friendly with the one attendant who's inside when I tried to get money, and B, I wasn't about to leave my car alone. Finally she snapped at me and said, "Why are you asking me questions? You don't trust me." I then said, "I work at the police department, it's my job," and she flips out, yelling at me, calling me a snitch, about trying to get her in trouble and just losing her darn mind. At this point, I'm more scared than ever. I just want her gone, but my instincts told me asking her to get out of my car couldn't work, so I decided to take a risk. I say, "I'm not a police officer, I just work at a police department. Why don't I take you to Walmart and see if they have ATMs at work?" My idea was to get her out of my car as peacefully as possible and get her into the store. She likes my idea and immediately calms down. I know that it's incredibly risky driving off with a stranger in the car, but it seems my best option at the time. As we're driving, she keeps asking me to take her home. Her thoughts are erratic, literally bouncing all over the place. It was really like a look into a crazy person's mind. Here's some of our conversation. "I'm glad we're friends now. I have about 6 people trying to get me. I'm gonna come to your work tomorrow so you can go arrest them together." "Okay, we can talk about that tomorrow." "You said you're trying to get home, right?" "Yeah, I'm trying to get to this city." Then I said, "I thought you needed to go to the other one." She said, "Yeah, that's what I meant. That's why the cab ride is $40 away." I said, "The cab ride is $40? She said, "Yeah." "You said you had $40. "I do, but I mean it's 60. There's now silence. "Are you sure you can't take me to my aunt's house? She lives close." "I thought you said she lived somewhere different." "No, I meant that one." "But it don't matter because she won't give you the money anyway. You sure you can't just take me to my city?" Now it was terrifyingly obvious that this woman was not talking sense. The details of her story are constantly changing. We pulled into Walmart and she finally gets out of the car. I told her before we went to find an ATM that I need to use the restroom. My plan was to call the police from inside a stall, but she followed me into the bathroom. This is where she effectively corners me. I bolt out of there and lean against a barrier. I then said, you know, I have some friends at the police department that can probably help you better than I can. I'm just gonna call them and we can figure this out. Again, at the mention of cops, she starts to really flip out. I kept retaining that the police would help her. She snapped to me that she was going to leave and stormed out of the bathroom, but it wasn't over yet. I waited to make sure she was really gone, but sure enough, not 60 seconds after she left, she came back into the bathroom and started banging on the stall, and said something that scared the life out of me, saying, "Hey, come back to the car with me. I left my beer in your car." I blatantly tell her no. I saw her getting into my car and she had absolutely no beer with her. I waited a good 5 minutes before exiting the bathroom. I immediately found a manager who called the police. Thankfully I was in a different police jurisdiction from the one I worked in, but I was mortified at how entirely stupid I'd been the whole night. The police officer that responded took my statement and advised me to be more careful in the future. He said that sometimes panhandlers turn violent, and that just recently there had been a report of a woman who matched her description assaulting a Samaritan trying to help her. I definitely learned a lesson on stranger danger. I'm lucky to have come out unscathed. I'm glad that my stupidity didn't kill me.
Have you ever noticed how fireworks shows are kind of, well, disappointingly dull? This has been on my mind a lot recently. Fireworks have been around for centuries and American fireworks shows for decades. Yet if you watch videos of bicentennial celebrations and compare them to current shows, you realize how fireworks haven't exactly come a long way. If anything, fireworks shows are probably now more boring due to the stringent safety rules. I don't know, but that's the way it is for air shows, so I wouldn't be surprised. Point is, fireworks have not gotten bigger and better like everything else has. We have not, for example, figured out a way to produce cheap blue fireworks for consumer use. And I doubt many people are working on that. Only the elite shows get a few true blue fireworks, while everyone else has to settle for the shade-off purple or tinted grey. Nor have professional shows gotten grander. If you want to be truly wowed, you have to get the best shows, and even they can get dull after a while. Even the big fireworks shows in Asia can't really compare to the spectacle of a violent lightning storm over a city, a sunset on the beach, a double rainbow, or even a full moon on a clear night. Personally, I go to lantern festivals sometimes for a change of pace. I realize that if you aren't a firework enthusiast like me, then this probably doesn't matter to you. Sure, fireworks may not have been evolving much, but it's not like people are really complaining about it. Recently though, I was browsing a message board for firework enthusiasts and technicians and found a thread titled, "Why haven't fireworks gotten better?" The thread basically expressed the same sentiments I just related above, and several people said that they've been wondering the same thing. One reply said someone in the industry apparently thought the same thing. He mentioned Siren Fireworks, a fireworks brand about which little was known. At first I thought maybe they were called that because they sounded like a siren when they went off. But now I know that was not the case. Siren Fireworks showed up in a rural Missouri county between 2000 and 2003. Kids got a hold of them somehow, but they were never willing to say where they got them. And to this day, no one knows who made them. Kids were said to claim they were superior to all other fireworks, as in, way cooler. Apparently Siren Fireworks made a small blip on the national news radar when it turned out lots of kids were getting injured from using them, even compared to the other fireworks. And although the news never had time to mention this since it was a minor story, The especially strange thing was that none of the injuries involved burns. One girl who very nearly died whilst using one of these with her friends was actually hit by a car somehow. This piqued my interest instantly. I researched all I could find on the web about the Siren Fireworks, which wasn't much. No one seemed to own any, although some of the message boards had some pictures of Siren Firework packaging, but little information was available beyond that. I finally found someone who claimed to have a set and was willing to sell them for $600. I talked him down to $400 and received the package a couple days later. Now, I'm a firework enthusiast, but I don't actually collect fireworks. I know some people who do, and the issue with it, besides the obvious question of how to do it safely and legally, is the same issue with having a fine wine. Do you eventually drink it, or just have it on display forever? Part of me didn't want to launch these fireworks that were apparently legendary in the enthusiast community. Eventually, I decided to though, and I got 2 of my friends to come with me. On July 4th, 2017, we set out to an undeveloped field to test them out. At midnight, we launched just one rocket. The thing exploded into a mosaic of colors. It may have been the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Not only was there every color of the rainbow, but there were multiple shades of each. It was dazzling. I could hardly have looked away even if I wanted to. The sound of the explosion was actually pretty faint to my memory, but the colors. The colors. It was like a field of wildflowers projected into the sky, or a giant splatter paint wheel. My friends and I came to from our trance, if you will, when one of them fell partially into a ravine and sprained his ankle. We had already known the ravine to exist in the field, but we were dozens of yards away from it when we launched the firework. Good thing we didn't keep walking, because the ravine was something like 30 feet deep and very narrow. I still have the other rockets. I'm not sure what to do with them.
This happened earlier last year, and still messes me up thinking about it. For a little backstory, I'm a delivery driver for a certain foods company, and I've been doing so as a side gig for the past year or so to earn extra money. I'm also female. Anyway, yeah, it's a super chill job. Although the pay is definitely not ideal, especially at night. Normally any pings I get after 10 PM are just crappy fast food orders to customers who are just there, just out of their mind, drunk normally. Anyway, late night deliveries are already profitable through tips, which is why I barely do them. I, however, on this night last year, find there's a bonus going on. Reach 15 deliveries in a certain time and get an extra $75. Music to my ears. Well, that's the case. Late night deliveries rock because there's no traffic, and it doesn't matter when you're picking stuff up. The faster you can get them done, the faster you can go home and knock out. Open roads all the way for me. I was on a roll and finished my last McD's run at 2:30 in the morning, cash my bonus and call it a night. For context, this took place in downtown San Diego. Downtown SD has fun restaurants and clubs at the core, but as you branch out, it gets more seedy. Once you get past 16th Street, it gets hella shady. Lots of homeless, the works. I actively try and avoid the area, but in order to get back home and on the freeway, I have to pass through the neighborhood. One more piece of information, I drive a crappy old Ford and nothing's automatic. In order to roll down the window, you have to crank the lever. Because it's a hassle to roll them up and down manually each time, when I do deliveries, I just keep both my windows rolled down because it's easier to pick up / deliver through the windows. This night, I had my windows down as usual. I was planning to roll them up before I passed 16th Street, where the homeless camp was, but didn't get that far. As I turned down a side street heading towards the main drag, up ahead I see a man in one of those orange reflective construction vests standing on the side of the road. There's always some sort of construction going on downtown, and it's pretty common for it to happen at night, so I didn't really pay much attention. As I get closer though, the man stops in the middle of the street waving his arms. I begin slowing down, thinking that he's going to direct traffic or something. I brake to 10, then 5, leaving distance trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. He breaks out into a jog towards my car, stopping directly in front of it, blocking me and my car from moving forward. God, immediate unease. This is weird. I'm really wishing that my windows were done up. People are talking about fight or flight, and I've always wondered how I'd react in that situation. Now I know, my reaction is to freeze, because as I was slowing down, it hit me 5 seconds later that I should not have. The guy's not a construction worker. He has on a hard hat and vest, but the creepiest smile I've ever seen in my life. At first I thought he was just smiling to be friendly, but smiling to acknowledge someone longer than a few seconds is not normal. Try it right now, count to 5 in your head while grinning and you'll see what I mean. Exactly what he's doing. Now that he's in front of me, I can tell he's homeless, or I don't know. He's an older guy. I guess 60s, but homelessness has a way of making everyone appear old, so who knows really. But he's just staring at me, wide-eyed smiling, all teeth. Honestly, his smile and mannerisms, the best way I can describe it is Twisty from American Horror film. Literally though, the guy looks insane. I obviously should have reversed, but my brain was panicking and I didn't think that fast. I was instead frozen in my car thinking, this is how I'm gonna die. This whole time he's not saying a thing, just leering. Then like a ninja, he jumps onto the hood of my car and slams his fist against my hood. I'm frozen in terror just watching this guy. He starts pounding on the hood of my car, crawling around on his hands and knees, not saying anything, just crawling and staring at me. That was the most terrifying part, that he never breaks eye contact once during all of this, and never stops grinning. The thought of my windows being open made me want to throw up, but at the same time, breaking eye contact and moving to roll them up felt scarier, like if I made any sudden movements or looked away, he'd try and get inside. He never says a word. I think it would have been less scary if he said something, but he didn't. Just pounded his fists on the car and stared. All in reality, this whole time probably lasted seconds, but felt like days. I'm freaking out, and before I can gain the sense to do anything remotely intelligent, I see headlights in my rearview mirror coming up from behind me down the street. The man sees them too, and in an instant he jumps off my car, runs from behind me towards a new car. Jesus, I floor it and don't look back until I'm halfway home on the freeway. At this point it's all adrenaline. For a long time after that I stopped delivering at night. I sure as hell don't want to go down that section of road again anymore. I take the longer route home, and I don't drive with the windows down at night if it's in an even remotely run down area. What I realised from this is how naive I can be, just to go onto autopilot to deal with situations because someone has a uniform. Like, I didn't even question slowing down at first, even though it is a situation that was really sketchy. The opposite actually in my mind. I was confronted and confirmed by the fact that somebody trustworthy was on the road. Suspicious thoughts went by like, oh nice, a public servant doesn't want to make a wrong turn. By the time I stopped, it would have already been too late if the guy decided to attack me, and I shudder thinking about it. I calmed down eventually by reassuring myself that this is probably just a crazy guy on drugs who meant no harm. But it might not have been. The fact that this guy is dressed as a worker on the road, deliberately behaving normal at first, is a part that really scares me. I pray to God I never have a similar experience in my life. I can say though that I learnt from this one.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing. And if you're an animal lover like me, please consider donating to the World Land Trust, a charity that aims to help wildlife through buying land, preventing development, and helping endangered species.